In today's video we're going to do street photography but with a slow shutter speed. Maybe these two. And I'm not talking about the photographs where you put your camera on a tripod and let your subject be the only thing that is not in motion. I'm talking about tracking your subject with your camera. Kind of like what I did for my photo shoot for Burger King, where I'm on roller skates and my subject is moving at the same speed as I am.
More speed?
Yeah. But the difference is, in this video we're going to do it with our feet, and I think we can make some interesting photographs doing so. I hope you enjoy. I want to be closer to the person who I photographed, so I need more people. Down here, let's go down here. And for these photographs I mounted a GoPro to my camera, so you guys can see my point of view as well. And I'm gonna share the settings for each photograph so you can see the shutter speed of selected ones. I shoot a lot of my photographs sometimes with a little bit of an angle up, but for these I would hope that I can get the eye contact of the person who I'm photographing. So I think I would almost like to be more visible for these kind of shots to create a more dramatic effect. And I don't mind that they are seeing that I'm taking a picture. I think that would make these kind of photos stronger. In terms of the cameras, we are shooting with the X-T3 and a 35mm 1.4. I put links to my gear in the description. And then I'm gonna change to the X-H2S that you're seeing right here, that we're filming with right now. The X-H2S has better autofocus, built-in image stabilization, and better face detection. So I think for these kind of photographs it might work. Let's see. I'm Frederick, I do photography here on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? In terms of the camera settings, I shoot in manual, but you can also use shutter priority. You basically just need to find a way to control your shutter, and that's the most important part. You can take all of these photographs with your phone as well. There are several pro camera apps where you can lock your shutter speed, and as long as you can get it down to a 10th or a 30th of a second, you're good. In terms of the technique, I think a lot of people, they start to over-adjust to the people they're photographing, because we are in the mode of thinking we need to move the camera at the same pace as the person who we photograph. We over-move it a little bit, so it's a lot of trial and error. The lower shutter speed you have, the more steady you have to be with your hands, because it's going to be more sensitive to your movement. So when you start at around 30th of a second, you can relax a little more, but when you're at 1/10th of a second, you need to lock your arms to the side and move like a tripod. When we take these photographs in broad daylight, you're letting too much sun in by going to a shutter speed of 10th or 30th of a second. So you will need an ND filter. I thought all ND filters were the same until I got the one that I'm showing you right now. If you don't have one of quality, I put links in the description. Let's go down here a little bit. I see more people down here. For these photographs we need to manage our expectations. We're not going to come home with 50 different photographs that we like that are all very different in different areas of a city. We're basically going to come home with 600 photographs of the same stuff where the majority of them doesn't really work. But I do think it's worth it to get that one special shot that we want. And in this video we're not going to stop until we get it. Let's go. I send you the picture.
Yes.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Right now we're in a spot where people walk extremely slow, and in order to create this effect we need movement. So I think we're gonna step down to maybe 1/10 of a second and see how that works. For all these photographs we're shooting with a continuous autofocus, so it helps me when people are moving and you're moving at the same time. I think for these photographs it can feel a little intrusive going up in people's faces, but if I stand here it's kind of my spot already and I can get away with tracking people who come in versus going up to someone like this and tracking them in their face. For these images you need to really see who's coming into your picture before they're there, because when they're there it's too late, and then some people will like to stop up and wait for you, and what you want is for them to just walk in, so you need to find the balance. They're wearing here are so nice. It would be great if we can find someone. Okay, I have an idea. I don't know if this works, but let's see. You see this woman over there with the cool hat? So I need her to walk through the crowd and look at me while she's doing it. Let's see if it works. I have a question.
Yeah.
I do photography and I think you would be great for a shoot right now. Doing some slow photos where you can only see one person like this. You come walking just normal with your hat on and you look at the lens. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Then you just go past me, 3 meters past me. Let's see what we got. And everything should be a little blurry.
Like, can you email that to me?
Yes, I have Instagram.
Okay.
Do you have it?
Yes, I have Instagram.
Shot selection is so important. So besides your little view in here, you need to understand who's coming into your direction before they do it, so you're gonna track them, because you have to kind of commit to one subject at a time. So be attentive about who you are selecting for each shot. I know that I want these photographs in black and white. That's why the preview that you guys are seeing on the screen, it's black and white. I might as well just watch it how I'm gonna see it in post. Like the autofocus is struggling right now, so the darker it gets, the more difficult it is for me to use the autofocus. I'm taking pictures here and you guys came by.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's cool.
That's your cool one.
That's a great one. I don't know how you froze us. We got everybody else.
To be honest, taking photographs like this felt a little bit boring compared to traditional street photography, where you walk a city thin and you come home with such a wide range of different images from the whole city and different people and the human interactions that you have done along the photo walk. These pictures here, they feel more like a mechanical challenge in terms of getting the right camera settings, you holding your arms super steady and tracking your subject. A lot of the things that I like about street photography is kind of taken out of the equation while taking these photographs. But the result though, I mean, I love this kind of photographs. I love the end result of these. By using this slow shutter effect, it's almost like you come closer to the subject who you're photographing, because they are isolated and surrounded by ghost-like people, it becomes something you can't achieve with a shutter speed of 125th and over. So I'm a little bit split between the process being whatever, but the end result being super exciting. Like, I don't remember the last time I was so excited to get home and look through all the photographs that I took. Maybe I will find some creative outlet within these kind of photographs, so once you get better at taking them, you understand and appreciate the aspect of the process more than I did for this. Let's see. This is important for me to mention. The photographs you see are my picks, my selection. I took 5,500 photographs for this video, which is a lot more than I usually do. Maybe I'm usually around 600 photographs. But because of the nature of how these photographs are taken, you just end up taking a lot more. And if you want to try to experiment taking photos like this, instead of taking raw images, to go for JPEGs, because you will end up taking so many photographs. So I think I had around 350 gigabytes of images. If you're fine with that, by all means try shooting raw, but if not, JPEG is fine. I normally shoot black and white only, so I don't spend that much time editing my photos compared to someone who is obsessed about each color. I think black and white just takes a little less effort to edit. But for these kind of photographs, I think it's different. Because of the more abstract look, you have some interesting creative decisions to make in editing. And there's 3 things I think are very interesting in terms of how you would edit this photograph. One is clarity. That's obvious. It's overused in many scenarios for, like, you know, these black and white portraits. But for these kind of images, it looks great. The other thing is worth testing is dehazing. Dehazing kind of gives you almost like a shadow increase or decrease, but with some texture in a way. And the third thing being grain. Sometimes it looks a little bit weird when people are graining their digital images, especially if it's like a super sharp or like a 1.2 shallow depth of field, so it just looks very digital, and then they add some grain to it and it just feels off. For these images though, I think grain serves a great purpose. This video I shot mostly single point focus with a continuous autofocus, so it looks for the focus all the time, and with face detection as well. That said, I'm not sure I did the right thing. Maybe I would have been more successful with my focusing had I put it to manual focus and just have, you know, an aperture of like 14 or 16, so everything is in focus, and I would just have to worry about the tracking itself and not the focusing. Because sometimes you track a subject and the focus isn't there, but it's too late, so you just keep taking like 40 images and none of them work. The only downside I could think of is that you don't have this separation that you get from having a shallow depth of field. I don't know, it's worth experimenting with both options, I guess. In terms of the camera, there's 2 things I want to mention. The X-H2S is very much sports-like. By using the electronic shutter, it can go to 40 frames per second. And if you use the mechanical, it can take 15 frames per second. And what I'm curious about is whether the look changes based on the electronic versus the mechanical shutter. That would be a good question. I'm curious to hear you guys' answer if some of you guys have looked into that, because I switched a little bit between both of them and I couldn't see a big difference, to be honest. And yeah, why not just shoot 40 frames per second instead, and then make sure you actually capture the moment you're looking for. I'll use 2 different lenses for this video, the 16mm 1.4 and the 35mm 1.4. I thought the wide angle would be interesting in order to get close to people, and you know, sometimes people look a little bit more distorted when they are on a wide angle lens, but I found myself struggling with the focus for the wide angle because I'm so close to my subject. So when I actually want to take pictures of them, they're at an angle, and once they come in front of me, focus distance changes naturally more because you're a lot closer. So the further away you are from your subject, the less of a focus change there will be from seeing your subject to them being in front of you. So I think that is why I kind of enjoyed the 35mm more than the 16 for this particular shoot. Though I do think that the result of the 16mm is great when you hit the focus. I shot 2 different styles, you could say. One from the waist and some from eye level. And the result is very different whether you choose to shoot more from the waist or from the eye level. The biggest thing, I think, is once you have your camera up to your eye, you will get a bigger percentage of people looking directly at you. And that can be very nice for these kind of photographs. So compared to normal street photography, where you would probably prefer not to be that visible, I actually do think that being visible for these kind of photographs creates a more dramatic look that are very interesting. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was fun to make. I love these kind of images. You will see a lot of that on my Instagram going forward, because I'm not done. This is just the beginning of me experimenting with how my style will look in this kind of setting. Until next time.